Hi, and welcome to Finished Game Review. This is our first episode. I'm your host, Jordan Vickers, and we will be talking about games that have already been fully finished, as in the DLCs are out, the updates are no more. This is the final product of the game. And today, we are talking about Hades, one of Supergiant's latest games, massive hit. And today I'm followed with another podcaster.
Yeah, hi. My name's Josh. I also go by Slugger on my podcast. I do a trophy hunting podcast called the Trophy Talk Podcast. I've also guest starred on the PS Plus Game Club and talked about games over there. So, again, I'm fairly new to podcasting, but I'm learning it. I'm loving it. I love talking games, so I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Great for you to be on the first episode, and I'm still figuring this crazy shit out myself, so bear with us. We're a new podcast. Please, do the whole rate, subscribe, comment. Anyways, getting back to the game we're talking about is Hades. Like I said, it was done by Supergiant Games, and it was announced at the 2018 Game Awards. Did you by chance see that Game Awards, or remember the first time you saw a preview of this game or anything?
Let's see. I don't think I really started paying attention to the Game Awards until I don't know, probably 3 or so years ago. So I don't think I saw this one. I actually feel like I knew little to nothing about it until it came out on the Switch, and I just started to see it pop up all over Reddit, and even then I didn't really know what it was. Like, roguelikes were still, I knew what they were, but I didn't really dabble in them. I didn't really like them. So yeah, I guess going into this game, when I played it, I knew very little about it other than like people praising it and saying like, holy crap, this is like game of the year, like amazing. Everyone should play it, whether you like the genre or not. It's a must play. And then that kind of like obviously piqued my interest when it came to PlayStation. I'm like, all right, time to check this out. I got to get into it.
Yeah, I actually saw it during the Game Awards, and for some reason it immediately popped out to me, and I was like, so you basically are running through hell trying to escape. That's a cool premise in itself, using the underworld of the Greek legend also made it kind of interesting, very different. So it wasn't like going through Doom or anything. And I just immediately went, I think this is a game I should really pay attention to. And very shortly after they announced the game, they said it was already going to be in early access, which I didn't participate in. Given what you said, I doubt you did too. And but the game was officially released in September of 2020, and I think that's about when I got it. I think I got it when it was very freshly new for the Switch.
And it was on this. It was exclusive to the Switch for a time, right? I mean, obviously they did the beta period on PC, but on the console side, it was exclusive to the Switch for a time period, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It's exclusive for a small bit of time. It didn't take too long for it to come to other platforms, and great reason, because this game is so well beloved, and I don't think it would have been a giant hassle to transferring it over to the PS4, and I think it was on the Xbox. I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, so
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I got no, you're good. I got some dates. So it was released for PC and the Switch September 2020, and then it wasn't released on the other consoles, so PlayStation and Xbox, until August of 21. So almost a full year.
Oh,
exclusive
wow.
on the Switch.
I do have the notes of the last patch, though. The last patch was the 1.04 patch in February of 2022, and that was just basically it was a bunch of bug issues, nothing too derivative. The biggest selling point of the last one is trying to get it over to the Steam Deck, make it deck verified, which is one of the biggest things lately. Is everyone's rushing to make their games to this day to be like, I gotta get this on the Steam Deck. As for DLC, there was no DLC for this game. It was all just micro updates, just adding little bits of things like bonus rewards. Like we'll talk about rewards later on when you get to Hades' room and everything. But so let's actually get to what this game is about. You are Zagreus, a lesser known god of Greek mythology, and it turns out Supergiant wanted kind of a lesser known god. Originally, they were Theseus, the hero that battled the Minotaur in Greek legend. And
Interesting.
and they at first they were like, we can't give this guy a really good personality. We're having trouble with it. And then I think it was the director, I have his name, Greg Cassavan. I think that's how you say his name. He stumbled upon the legend of Zagreus, and there is so little about this guy in the poems and Greek notes that they're like, we can really kind of play around with this character. And I think they did a really great job with all the characters in this game.
Yeah, I agree. I'll be honest. I didn't know Zagreus. So it wasn't until after I beat the game where I started to like research some of these gods and who they were. And when I first played it, it's like, all right, I recognize all these other major characters. Zagreus, I obviously didn't recognize. I thought he was kind of like a made up god, almost like their own spin on the mythology, just so they could have a character they designed in the game. I didn't realize there was an actual like Zagreus god until after I beat the game, and it's like, I want to learn more about some of these stories because, you know, some of the Greek stories are just really awesome. So through trying to get more information from those stories, I learned that Zagreus was a real god, and I don't want to say I was mind blown, but it was kind of cool. It was like, oh man, like what other gods are out there that I don't know about? Like, so yeah, I really like the character design of him, and like you said, because he's lesser known, I think they were able to play around with him a lot more, and kind of design him in a way that they wanted to.
Yeah, and one of the reasons he is lesser known is, simply put, the Greek people were so actually afraid of Hades that they didn't want to talk too much about the guy and his family. So that's kind of why you don't get a whole lot of actual real history lore about this character. But as for the game itself, it starts off with you as Zagreus in a like isometric view, but that word has kind of gotten a little dirty over the years, isometric, because it's usually really hard to tell where you're at on screen, and I think this game does a beautiful job with that view of like, you know exactly where you are on the screen. They found like the perfect angle to show off the landscape and everything and know exactly where you are. And that's kind of very pivotal in this game because you will be dodging a ton in this game. As for the gameplay and the game itself, you're in the Hall of Hades, and he's like, I'm leaving. Bye, y'all. And before you know it, you're actually starting the game. And one of the first things you do, you have a sword, and you slay a first group of monsters, I think. Or I might have this mixed up. Either you slay a group of monsters, or you meet your first god. And what gods do is they don't see you directly. It's more like they have this icon that will pop up per room, and you have a short conversation with them, and you pick a boon out of three choices, and they give you each a bit of a buff. And these buffs can be like deflecting enemies, doing more attack, uh, chaining lightning, all sorts of interesting things. And this is kind of the bread and butter of Hades. Is each run is very different. You build up your character bit by bit each run, picking and choosing. Well, do I want to go with this one or the other one? And each god has their own distinct flavor, and you quickly get customized with like how each god, what to expect out of them.
Kind of like what you're saying. What was interesting is like the gods give you these boons and they give you these kind of powers, which is how you, essentially how you get your build for each run, and you try and like mix and match to perfection all of these different like abilities that the gods are giving you for each run. And it's cool because all the gods have like, so you're in the underworld, you're in hell, you're trying to escape, but like the gods that are helping you are like,
they know of you, and they just learned recently of you.
Yeah, so there's like, I'm not going to name all of them, but some examples. There's like Athena and Ares and Zeus and Aphrodite, and like those are all the Olympian gods who are, up in the sky or, wherever they are. They're not in the underworld with you, and they all have their own like motivations for giving you these powers to help you escape. Like some of them are doing it because they actually like believe in your cause. Other ones are doing it because they're like, we don't like Hades. Like, we just want to cause a ruckus down there, and you're causing a ruckus. So we're going to help you out. So it's cool to see, like, the personality of each god and kind of learning more about them and their motivations for helping you, you as Zagreus, escape hell. I really like how they do that. Like, they all have their very own distinct personalities.
They're all very fun, and you get to learn a little bit more about them throughout as the game develops. And you're, like we said, you're escaping through hell, and there's 4 major areas of hell, which are the Tartarus. I'm probably going to mix up some of these names. The Asphodel, which is your true, like, what we Westerners think of hell is like the fiery landscape and everything. Elysium, which is basically heaven. It's not to be confused with Olympus. This is like paradise in the underworld where all the good souls go. Ironically, one of the hardest places of the game. And then you get the Temple of Styx, which is near the end of hell. And each one has its own boss region. The Tartarus, which I should have said earlier, I'm not sure how to describe it. It's very undead, dark green themed of hell. It's really what you think of undead, I would say, if that makes any sense to you.
It gave me like undead, like sewer vibes.
Yeah.
I always felt like I was fighting out of like, I don't know, dark, gloomy sewers. And I think it's just like the green nature. So like the water in the area has that green hue, and then like, cement bricks or like, yeah, like picture a sewer and throw an undead like Mediterranean old school twist on it, and that's kind of what this area looks like. And it's just a maze of dungeons after dungeons, and you're just fighting through them.
After you die, well, I'm not sure if we should get to like when you die. Yeah, when you die, because it'll happen. Since you are part of the underworld itself, you don't actually die. You kind of go back to the beginning, and Hades in his throne room will literally just taunt you, be like, yeah, you ain't escaping from here. Meanwhile, you kind of talk to other gods in the underworld itself in something like a hub world. There's Nyx, the goddess of night. She's probably the most important goddess in the underworld to you because she'll help you out the most.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when you die, your gold, which you accumulate throughout the run, goes away. Your boons go away. You have your weapon, but the only thing else that sticks with you is something called the mirror, the dark mirror that Nyx gives you. And this is one of the few permanent upgrades you slowly build up with permanency.
I man, I loved the hub world. What do they call it in the game? The House of Hades,
The House of Hades, yeah.
where it just kind of all the different underworld gods gather, and you're walking through like this elegant but eerie like mansion looking area, and you kind of see these like they're not really NPCs. They're more of just like they're not they're not in the background. You can't really interact with them, but there's like these spirits walking around, and you just see these little like blue blobs of spirits, and they're kind of cute actually, the design of them. But it's cool. You can click on them, and it'll tell you how each of them died. But you walk past these guys, and then you see Hades sitting at a desk, and he's looking bored. I don't know how in depth you want to go with like spoilers and stuff. I've kind of already passed that point with some of these things, but like I like Hades design because when I think of Hades, I always think of like evil, worst person on the planet, and then in this, he just seems like grouchy old businessman where all he cares about is like, I gotta keep hell in order. I gotta do this paperwork. I gotta make sure my son doesn't try and escape. Like he's just a grumpy old man who's just like sick of his job down here in hell. So I thought that was kind of a fun spin on him too, because he's even though he's supposed to be like the big bad that you're running from, he's almost like likable in a sense.
I don't think we've really gone into major spoilers yet. Because, like, everything we've talked about, you literally learn within the first 30 minutes of the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but we will talk about spoilers later, and there's actually fun things about this story that are I wasn't honestly expecting, but it turned out to be a very cohesive, non-confusing plot, and I loved it. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Part of the underworld, the House of Hades, is shortly after a run or two, you can talk to these little side guys, like you mentioned, the people who died and are waiting in line for judgment. Well,
Mm.
you get all sorts of souls, and turns out in hell, it's no surprise that there are contract workers down there. And
Yeah.
uh, he hired some contract workers, and there's this kitchen area that you can slowly build. Some of it is for decorative purposes, some are for like completion bonus, and it gives you this own little area that you can slowly personalize throughout the game. And I really wouldn't call that a spoiler either. It's a very fun mechanic. And it has its own currency of cherries, I think. I remember them looking like cherries. Yeah.
I don't know if that's right, but they definitely look like cherries.
Yeah. That was a very fun part of the game. And some of the other characters, I don't think this is a spoiler that we can get into. Or spoiler talk, but you can talk with the head of Medusa, which is freaking adorable. She's not like this mean old thing that'll turn you to stone. She's this cute little wimpy thing that has the biggest crush on Zagreus ever. You also can talk to Hypnos or Hypno, or he's the god of sleep, and he's very aloof, a little bit feminine-esque, but not in a bad stereotypical way. He's just funny to talk to, in my opinion, and he kind of gives you a little bit of a plot point early on in the game, which we'll talk about. Spoilers. You apparently learned your combat skills from Achilles himself, which I thought was really cool. And then there's like Theron, which is death, and turns out he's like your half brother or something. He comes up later in the gameplay. You can challenge him to a little miniature game of who can kill what minions the fastest, and if you win that in the game, he gives you an extra boon, which is always cool.
And that's Thanatos.
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 Okay, I was thinking Theron, and it was his name.
That was
All
close.
these Greek names. Oh, and I almost forgot, like, the bestest boy, Cerebus. He's just chilling in Hades' room most of the time, and you can pet him, and he's just the chillest, coolest looking character in the game.
Yeah, he was my favorite. Any game with a dog, I'm gonna latch onto that dog. Like I'm doing Final Fantasy 16 right now, and I always stop to pet him.
Yeah,
But any game that lets me pet a dog and throw love their way, I'm gonna get attached to that animal very quickly.
We'll talk about him a little bit later on in the spoiler area, but going through and through the gauntlets, and a couple of things do change. You get the mirror, like I said. These give you buffs like an extra life, more damage. I can't remember all the specifics of the mirror, but it is pretty essential to your run to like go through this thing and max out it as much as possible, because it is one of the few things that just sticks with Zagreus. Another thing is you get more weapons along the way, and that introduces another character called Skelly. Skelly is probably the oddest character out of this entire game. He talks with that Northeast American accent, like he's kind of a sketchy dude and you're not quite sure what his story is, but he's an actual training dummy for you to test all these weapons out on him. What did you think of Skelly?
I think Skelly was one of the first relationships I maxed out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so like in this game you also are talking to all the gods and side characters, and you give them ambrosia and another, what's the other liquid?
So
some
ambrosia,
form of, yeah, it's,
and then it's gonna bug me.
yeah. I thought I had it in the notes. I do not. But it's some form of booze, and it's technically illegal in Hades, kind of the way
Nectar.
that pot used to be illegal in the States. Like, no one really cared. And you give them to gods, and they give you relationship bonuses, and you can learn more of their backstory. And I think some of this is kind of mandatory with the plot with some of the gods.
Yeah, if you want the true ending of the game,
Yes,
I believe you have
that's
to
right.
max out the relationship with all of them. The other liquid was nectar. So nectar is a more common gift that you can find. You use that to rank up the characters most of the way, and then I think the ambrosia is used to kind of max out the relationships once you're towards the end of each relationship line.
Going back to the weapons, there's like 3 variations of each one, but we'll just go through the main points. We got a sword, which is kind of what you expect. A spear does have long range, and you can also throw and immediately comes back to you. A shield that can be thrown Captain American style and also stop damage. A bow, which is straight up long range. Gauntlets, which are close up and do heavy duty. And a much surprise to this game, which kind of makes you question, when is this game made? You get a railgun. And it's kind of funny because they save it for last and you're not expecting it at all. Which are some of the weapons you really enjoyed using the most?
Let's see. I think my go-to was always the spear.
Yeah.
And I think the spear, I don't remember specific builds I did, but I remember I liked that the melee attacks were, you had a pretty wide, or not wide, but reach on your just base melee attack. And then you had a throwing option with the spear, I mean, there was like leaping options. The combos of the spear, I think I got used to and I got really comfortable with early, and that kind of became my favorite. The shield I also really enjoyed, especially when I was doing like the harder runs, and I would tie the shield with Athena's boons, which her boons were all about defense and keeping shields up. You could actually throw like shield projectiles with her boons, so the shield with Athena's boons were very good for like survivability. And then I don't know if it was the bow. I kind of bounced between all of them and changed my playstyle for each one. Like when I used the gun, I didn't really like the gun that much, but the secondary fire where you can shoot like the grenades up in the air and do like the AoE damage if you build your character the right way, like
It
that can
does
be like,
massive amount of damage.
yeah,
Very,
you can
yeah.
just destroy crowds of enemies very very quickly and do a lot of damage to bosses. Um, I think my least favorite would actually be, I guess, the two I haven't mentioned, either the starting sword or the claws. I didn't really like. I know I didn't mention bow. Bow is kind of like average for me, I think, but the sword and the claws, I don't know what it was about them. They're shorter range, um, faster attacks but less damage. It's not that I didn't like them. I just seemed to struggle more when I had them. I struggled to make good builds with them, so I didn't really like using those.
There's a mechanic in the game, depending on the run, weapons will like glow a different color, and that'll let you know you get more of the currency that you want to get the mirror. You'll get much more of that currency if you use that specific weapon for that run. And that's how I kind of played the game for the most part, because I
did
really
too.
wanted to fill up that mirror.
Yep, I
And
did too.
there was actually one with the sword. All these weapons in the game, one of the lesser known gods, like he's the blacksmith of the underworld. Forgetting on his name, but you don't actually see him. He gives you a random boon for the weapon you have, and there's one with the sword that if you hit it against enemies, you'll gain health. But I think it also like decreases your main health, so it cuts. I think it cuts your main health in half. However, every time you hit an enemy, you get health back. So I loved using the sword for that one because there's an Athena boon where, like, her, not summon boon, but your god gauge, um, it's
It's
like
like like the ultimate power,
the ultimate
or like
power one.
like an
Yeah,
ultimate ability. Yeah.
yeah. You're impervious to damage for a long time, and if you have that, you can just release it, and it's honestly the best way to fight Hades at the end. You unleash leech that thing, and you just run at him, and you regain all your health back. You're at full health again, and you just do massive amounts of damage to him.
I I think that was my strategy until I like got the actual skill down to beat Hades. I definitely relied on that ability. I remember doing that quite a bit.
Yeah, I thought it was the most broken thing in the game. However, what's when you beat the game the first time? Actually, let's hold off on that because I forgot to mention the other bosses. So in Tartarus, each area ends with a boss, and the first boss is Megara, the Furies of Legend, and you fight against one of them, and the lead one is Megara. She's the one you'll talk to the most. She gets very interesting throughout the game, and hers is like she'll summon like two minions and have lots of AoE attacks, and she's very quick. She doesn't. She probably has the least amount of hitbox on like any other character in the game, but she is the first one, and she is kind of the easiest.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to a bone hydra in Asphodel. It's like a hydra. The main head will pop up. You hit it till the health bar goes to a certain point. Three more heads will pop up. You got to destroy those before the main head comes back. It's a character you talk to the least. So, as a funny little thing, Zagreus was like, he calls him Lurney later on in the game as a bit of a side joke, as if he was like another pet to him or something. And then one of the more funner bosses in Elysium is the Minotaur Astrius and the hero Theseus. And this is probably the most interesting boss in my opinion, because you can first take on Asphodel as a mini boss in the game just alone, and he'll kick your ass. He is really tough. But then later on, he's the final boss paired with another hero, and the hero himself will take on other powers of the gods you did not take during that run, and he'll use them against you.
Man, this boss fight, this felt like the big skill check in the game. Like the first two boss fights, I didn't really struggle with Megara and her sisters, and then the different God, what was the skeleton snake?
Lerny.
Lerny.
Yeah.
I didn't really struggle with those guys that much. I felt like I was always able to clear them, especially once I learned the game. Obviously, getting comfortable with them took some time, but once I was comfortable with them, I was good to go. Once I got to Theseus, and who does he fight with? It's like the bull guy.
Yeah, Asphodel.
Asphodel. Man, I easily the boss fight I died the most at. Like Hades seems, in my eyes, like simple compared to these guys, and it always seemed build dependent. There were sometimes I would get to room like their boss room, and I had a great build, and I wiped the floor with them, and then other times I get there and they just wrecked me. So in my, I guess how I viewed it was like, all right, if they wrecked me, then whatever build I was running clearly wasn't going to be good enough for Hades, and it's probably better that I died anyway. So I always viewed them as like a skill check for my build. I'm like, how am I doing with my boon selection? How am I doing with my weapons and my upgrades and everything for this run? So I love the boss fight. I agree. I think it's the most interesting one and probably the one that requires the most amount of like reflexes and skill. But man, did they kick my ass.
Speaking of reflexes, we should have said this earlier. You have a dodge button, and it is essential to this game because you dash through people's attacks and sometimes even through enemies altogether, and you need to keep an eye out because a part of this game, it's almost bullet hell like in a way. Things will just come at you from nowhere, and you need to be on your toes literally to dodge everything, otherwise you're just going to get slaughtered. As for Astrius and Theseus, part of Theseus's thing is he has a second phase where whatever boon he has with the gods gets more powerful. So my strategy was to take out the Minotaur first and then go after Theseus. And
yeah, I always left him for last.
Yeah, and Theseus also has a shield, so you have to usually attack him from behind, and he has a spear that he'll constantly throw at you. It's a really tricky boss battle, and it gets even harder after a certain point. Because after you beat the game, we won't talk about... There's a huge mechanic after you beat the game for the first time called...
the heat mode?
The heat, yes. The heat gauge, once when you're about to start a run, after you beat the game, you get this list of things that make the game harder. And one of the coolest things about the heat gauge is one selection is they give boss mechanics even more mechanics. So, for example, if you fill this out all the way, Megara will, or the Furies, instead of fighting one-on-one, they'll fight two-on-one. It'll be two of the sisters against you. And then in Lerny, you're surrounded by lava, the first fight with Lerny. In this one, the platform's even smaller. He's a bit harder. Not too much different with him. However, with Theseus and Astrius, Theseus has a fucking chariot that's run by rocket fuel or something. It is ridiculously stupid. I forgot what was the buff that Astrius gets. Isn't it just armor?
Yeah, I think it was just a health a health buff, and then yeah, like you said, it just now he's wearing of like a decked out in this heavy ass looking armor for the fight, and he just takes way more damage.
And I want to say the chariot has, if I'm remembering right, machine guns to it. There was something ridiculous. I want to say it was like the railgun or something to it other than just this giant ass chariot, but it was super, super unfair the first time you fight him again. It felt like hitting the wall the second.
If he's in the chariot, he has cluster bombs
That's
that he can
it.
throw out. And
Yeah.
then, like you said, he also has like short range bullets, like guns on the side as well that shoot in like a cone shape in front of him.
It's kind of metal as hell, but it's also when you first encounter it, your jaw is dropped on the floor, and you just go, "What the hell are we doing here?" Going back to like the rest of the game, because we kind of forgot to mention the Temple of Sticks. This is the last area, and this is a very weird area. It's like the shortest area of the game. Instead of like just getting to the end, Cerebus is in your way, but he won't attack you because Cerebus loves you. So your mission is like you go to the side and you get 5 to 6 options on which door to pick, and you go through these mini like columns. They're very short rooms, but with extremely deadly characters, and they'll
And
just
traps.
yeah, and traps, and they will just annihilate you. And there's a giant rat boss that even Zagreus hates, and he's like, "Oh no, it's that thing," and this giant rat will just like destroy you.
I really like that section of the game, but that section of the game always stressed me out because sometimes you would go through and get really lucky because where you're going out with the Cerberus stuff is instead of fighting him, you need to search for a bone to give to him so he'll let you pass. So you're going through all these dungeons and you don't, it's like a choose your own adventure. You pick door number 1 and you go through all the dungeons in there, and then it's like, oh crap, I didn't find the bone. Now I got to do a second door and hope that's right. And there's 4 to 5 options. You can get really unlucky and go through the first 4 and realize I haven't gotten the bone yet. I got to keep looking, and you're low on health, like you're struggling to stay alive. You're doing everything you can to survive, and it's just bad luck after bad luck until you finally get that bone. Or you get really lucky and you find this bone in the first like room you enter, and you can get out of there very quick. What I like about this area is it's the only place in the game where you can, well, sort of the only place in the game where you can buy upgrades before the final fight. So you may find the bone very quickly, and it's like high risk, high reward. It's like, do I want to keep going through these other rooms to get more money so I can come out to this little shop in the main hub of this area and buy some items and upgrades? Or do I want to just press and not risk, losing more health or potentially dying? I always liked that risk versus reward aspect of this whole zone, because there's probably a few times I made the decision where I'm like, I got the bone, but I'm gonna go explore these other rooms because there's this boon over here in the little shop that I want to buy, and I want this boon to go into the final like Hades fight with, and then I go back into the dungeons to try and like collect more currency, and then just get annihilated. And I'm dead. And it's like, well, crap, I lost the roll of the dice that time. It's my least favorite area, but I like the design aspect, just the risk versus reward and the little bit of randomness that goes with it. It's a very stressful area.
Exactly, and one of the rarest upgrades in the game is called Titan's Blood, and you use it whether or not you die or not. You always keep Titan's Blood with you, and that's used to upgrade your weapons. And usually in the River of Styx, Titan's Blood is up for sale, but it's always the priciest thing, and that's the thing that'll make you go, Do I really want more gold, or do I want to fight Hades? Because I'm running low on lives here. And
Yeah.
you said Hades was kind of easy, and he can be. He can also be a dick.
It's so hard because this in most roguelikes, if you're a roguelike fan, you know this. Every run for the most like they're the same but they're different. Like your build is different every time. So kind of like I was talking with Theseus, there were some fights I go in there and I got so lucky with item drops, and I have like this perfect build where all my item or all my boons and items and things I've collected are like syncing perfectly together, and I'm like untouchable. And if you get set up correctly and take your time to, figure out a good build by the time you get to Hades, he's not too bad. Like he's pretty doable. Like you need the dice roll of these drops. Like you need the drops. There were some runs where I went and my drops were just terrible. And I kind of knew like halfway through my run, like I'm probably going nowhere with this. Like I'm probably not going to survive to the end.
Yeah,
Excuse me. So it's, yeah, nice typical RNG roguelike action.
yeah, and with the gauntlet, you have to fight Hades twice. Like as soon as his health bar is almost gone, he'll refill it, and he gets a little bit harder. That's his extra thing, and he can be a real dick. And that's kind of I know we're skipping over a few things. Oh, Karen. Karen is your shopkeep, and he is the pilot of the River of Styx. He grunts. He looks like a skeleton. His character design's really cool. I love his character design for a skeleton. He is actually a secret boss in the game, and he might actually be the hardest thing in the entire game.
I actually completely forgot you can fight him. I do remember he was extremely tough. I think I fought him once for the trophy. There's a trophy to beat him, I believe. And then after I beat him, I was like, yeah, I don't ever want to do that again. We're buddies, Karen.
Yeah, Karen puts up shields, does massive, powerful AoE swipe attacks. And the trickiest thing about him is if you do have the chance to play against him, it's usually early on. So you don't have a lot of boons. Your character is like a quarter of the way built. And
Yeah.
it's that alone makes it massively tough.
I feel like I should ask while we were talking about difficulty of bosses and areas. Did you play with the God mode on? Because I may be a little biased here.
The God mode.
I do want to highlight this because I think it's a cool accessibility option, which, for full disclosure, I took advantage of. But it was like, I'm pretty sure it was called God mode, and when you toggle it on, every time you died, it gave you like a 2% increase to your health and damage. And I'm sitting here now that I've been thinking about like, why did I think Hades was so easy? It's probably because I died 50 to 100 times just getting to him. So by then I was super buffed, and it made the game easier. Essentially, the more you failed, it gave you passive buffs on top of the passive buffs you were already buying.
I never tried that, so I never even heard about it, actually. No, I did it the normal way.
Okay.
So, I got... by the time I
actually,
finally beat Hades, it was because, like, I got good, son, and, like, I got skills. Oh.
Yeah, so
But it's a good thing you
here's...
did mention something like that, because I can't imagine this game, like, a lot of people enjoying it, be going, man, this game is so tough. It is, the skill level is definitely something else. And also people with disabilities, I imagine that's a really good thing to have.
Yeah, so it started at a base 20% damage resistance, increasing by 2% each time a run ends in death rather than escape. And it caps out at 80%.
Huh.
And they said, and they did like an interview, they said the whole reason they did it was to make it more accessible, and that like if people wanted to experience the story, because the story is very good, but they couldn't, if they were struggling with the roguelike nature of the game and not being good enough, they could toggle this on and still get to experience or have an easier time at least experiencing the story. I'm a dirty trophy hunter, and I saw that and I was like, cool, I'm gonna use this to help me get the platinum, and I turned it on. I don't think personally it took away from the game at all. I still enjoyed it. I still died a ton. It was still challenging. I just maybe had a little bit of an easier time than other players who didn't use it.
Yeah, and you should always play games however you want to. I don't care. If this makes the game more enjoyable for you, absolutely go for it, because there is a lot to enjoy about this game, and not just the gameplay,
yeah.
but I fucking love the gameplay so much. Now we're going to talk about the music. And the music was made by Darren Korb, and he also does the singing voice of Orpheus. We kind of forgot to mention, well, you meet side characters throughout the actual game and not just the gods and people in the House of Hades, but people actually trapped forever in the labyrinth. Orpheus he's in the House of Hades, but he has a muse trapped in Asphodel, and there's a famous Greek poem about those two. He did an amazing, Darren did an amazing job on the music. Another part of the music for a couple of songs, Ashley Barrett is the voice of Eurydice. I think that's how you say her name. She is the muse that is trapped, and when you free her, slight spoiler, from her prison, you try to get back with her and Orpheus, and they do two amazing songs together. What did you think of the score?
Any show I'm on, that's like one of the, or like podcasts I'm on, and I'm talking about games, music is like one of the things I love to talk about, because I think music, I wouldn't say it makes or breaks a game, but I think music can take a game from like, hey, this is a great game, to like, holy crap, this is an amazing game that is just like filling me with emotion. To me, the music in this game made it into one of those situations. Like, a few of the songs, especially, man, I was listening to it all day to prep for this. Lament of Orpheus, the song that, like you said, Darren Korb sings to Eurydice. And is that how you say it?
I'm not sure. I don't think they said it a whole lot in the game either.
Orpheus sings a song to his muse, and when this song started playing and they put like the music as a whole, I'm gonna jump around here a little bit. So there's like this, like the Mediterranean strings almost. I don't know the exact instruments, but like very Mediterranean vibes mixed with like heavy metal at some points. And this one song that Orpheus sings to his muse, the Lament of Orpheus, just like blew my mind, because I think it came up in the House of Hades. Like I was sitting there just like buying items or something, or I think I went and talked to him and he started playing this song, and I was just like blown away and had like shivers down my back, and I'm like, what is this song? Like, this is amazing. But really the whole score is like that, like very, very awesome blend of like the old classical, like I said, Mediterranean like string instruments tied with like modern age like rock or heavy metal. Just really like creates this fusion of like genres that adds so much to the game and to, I don't know, bringing that emotion out of you. And really all the Supergiant games are known for this. Like I know Bastion had a great soundtrack, Transistor I thought had a great soundtrack, Pyre I don't remember too much, but I do remember enjoying the game. And I believe all these games are Darren Korb. Like the dude just knows how to rock a soundtrack. So I loved this game. I got it when I listened to that Lament of Orpheus song. I keep talking about that one because that's my favorite song in the game. like I listened to the lyrics and you kind of hear the story, like the tale of what happened with him and trying to get his wife back. And I thought it was just a really, really cool story. Like, I don't want to like dive into it here because I think it's more impactful if you've never heard it before to like hear the story and what happened like through the game along with the song. But great music.
The other two tracks, In the Blood and Good Riddance, are also amazing. They're the few ones with vocals in them. But even without vocals, this soundtrack is amazing. And you're right about it being a Mediterranean, obviously Greek vibe with the instruments they use. Everything really does come together with the music. It's so impactful. The upbeats and everything. I think my personal song is Good Riddance. What they kind of sing at the end, and it's a melancholy song, kind of about death itself, but it's hauntingly beautiful and kind of made me tear up a little bit hearing it once because Darren Cobb sings in a wispy soprano voice as Orpheus in this, and that sound should not be as good as it is.
Yeah.
And Ashley does an amazing job in like the both of them together like really played off each other, and this is such a beautiful soundtrack.
The instrument I was looking for, I had to look it up because it was driving me nuts. They're called lyres, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Yeah, yeah,
Lyre.
yeah.
And you get like the twangs of that with like I said, the songs, depending on like if you're getting into a heavy fight scene or a boss scene or something, they'll transition from that into like almost heavy metal, but you still hear the lyre in the background. Like it's just such a cool, like I don't know the right word, crunchy blend of music like, or genres of music.
Yeah, when you're actually playing the game, they found a really good, I would say, hypeness, like almost as if you were working out to a really good song to really help give your like endorphins and everything just that extra oomph to get in the zone and play this game super well. Any other highlights about the soundtrack you want to talk about before we get on to the spoiler section?
Maybe nothing to highlight. I guess if you're curious and you haven't played the game, you can find the entirety of the soundtrack on Spotify,
Or
and I would almost
YouTube, even.
or, yeah, really anything. It's out there. I would just search up Hades soundtrack and throw it on a shuffle and listen to some of this music. It's going to be more impactful when you're playing the game, but you'll at least be able to kind of pick up on why, like, how good it is just hearing it. Like, prepping for this show, I had it playing in the car all day today, and I forgot how, I don't know, like you said, emotional the music can be and how it hypes you up. Like, it's just really well done. And it blends perfectly with the gameplay, and love it. Love the music in this game.
Hear God's my desperate plea to see my love beside me.
I totally agree. We're going to talk about, this is the spoiler section of like full hands on. We're talking about the story. If you have not played this yet, I would obviously highly recommend you play this. It's on sale quite often. I would imagine, but I think even if you don't find it on sale, like full price, this is still an amazing game. But it is 4 years old now, so I'm sure if you're just a little bit patient, you can definitely find it on sale in a month or two at the very least, somewhere. So I would go ahead, and if you haven't played this game yet, you don't want to be spoiled, or you're like, man, I never finished that game, go back and finish it. It's an amazing game. But now is on to the spoiler section. Here's the quick notes of the story in depth, and we'll go through it all. Zacharias escapes the underworld. He goes snooping through his dad's place when everyone's asleep thanks to Hypnosis' spell. And he's like, I don't feel like I belong. There's something weird about me. And he finds out he does have a mom that's not Nyx. For the longest time, he thought Nyx was his mom. Turns out it's not. It's this chick named Persephone. And if you know, it's one of the more popular Greek myths about Hades and Persephone. One of the most well known. He then gets help with Nyx to contact the gods and gives him the special mirror to help him escape. And he finally does, after so many attempts and taunts through Hades saying, you ain't getting out of here, you ain't ever leaving. He finally bests his dad and goes to Greece and finds his mom, Persephone. And just as they finally meet for the first time, and it's kind of a shock to Persephone that her son is still alive, he dies because he's connected to the underworld. They go ahead and do the spiel again. Hades refuses to acknowledge anything at this point, keeps trying to stop Zagreus from connecting with his mom. You beat the games enough times where they form a relationship. She goes back to the underworld after you convince her, and then there's a point where she's in the underworld and then she's back at home, and the reason for that is the gods. The gods don't exactly know to this day what Persephone even going and being married to Hades for a time. And that leads to, well, we got to tell the gods finally, how do we do that? And it ends with a giant party. I just oversimplified through a lot, but let's kind of break this down. So, like, the beginning of the game, what did you think about, like, him finding out that he has a mom?
I don't know. At that point, it was still too early. Like I said earlier, I didn't know his story at all from any of the like classical myths. So, and at that point, I didn't really have an attachment to any of the characters. So, I think it starts off with you thinking Nyx is his mom, but I found it interesting that Nyx is actually the one who tries to help him, and it was like, yes, your real mom's out there, and she aids you pretty drastically with, I don't know, your attempts to escape. So I like the idea that even though she's like the adoptive mom, and in quotes, she's still like, hey, I'm gonna help you find your real mom. I'm kind of summing that up, but it sounds much better than that in the game, but that's kind of the gist of it. So yeah, at this point in time, I didn't really have any attachment, especially to like Persephone, but I got an attachment to her pretty quick once you first meet her towards the end of the game, but I don't want to jump there yet until we get there.
We kind of forgot to mention this, but the character design, well, we did talk about the character designs, but everyone does look very good. Everyone sounds amazing. The voice acting in here is so good too. Everyone sounds like a character in the best way possible. Everyone fits their character. The dialogue in this game's very interesting. People kind of bicker and argue and get over qualms they have with each other very well. For a main character, Zagreus has kind of the right amount of charisma. Usually main characters are very boring, and a lot of them are like, well, we want you to feel like you're in their shoes. Zagreus has a bit of a personality, and I love that.
He does have a good personality. But it's the perfect amount to where he doesn't steal the show. He's not annoying. They still kind of let all the different gods kind of
breathe.
I don't know. It seems like the other gods are kind of the main focus, where Zagreus is like, he's still a focal point, but he's not the sole story you're hearing. Like, you're learning everyone else's stories, and I think all the other side characters are just as interesting, if not more interesting, than Zagreus at points.
Oh yeah. The other biggest character, Hades himself, is you're very much like, what's your deal, dude? About half the time with him, you're like, why are you like this? And you find out slowly why throughout the game. Like, oh yeah, he wanted Persephone to stay, but he's like, yeah, if the other gods find out, because she is part human and part god as well. Like her mom is Dimitri, which is or Demeter, the goddess. She brings the winter. She
Yeah.
kills. And in actual Greek myth, when Persephone went to the underworld, Demeter was like, all right, everyone's going to suffer because of this decision. I'm going to cast winter upon the land. And it wasn't good. And you find out through the first playthrough who Demeter is, because she's the only god that doesn't pop up right away in your first game. You have to beat Hades first to unlock her and find out her story. And she doesn't still realize what the deal is up with her own daughter.
Did she know her daughter was alive?
Because she did go back to the real world, but I can't remember if she was still hiding from her.
She did know she was alive.
Yeah.
She just kind of despised her and didn't want to see her.
Yeah. And Demeter is kind of the biggest focal point of, like, the rift between the gods. Like, they still need to tell the gods what's going on, but they need to do it in the most delicate way possible. Otherwise, there'll be, like, war between everyone, all because of this relationship, which Zeus set up is kind of funny, too. Like, this was all Zeus's idea, and it just goes horribly, horribly wrong. I can't remember if that's actually in the game or part of the real world lore, but I'm pretty sure that's in the game. But as for the relationship between Zagreus and Persephone, at first, Persephone's like, you can't be my son. My son died in childbirth. She thought he actually died, but was secretly resurrected by Nyx, which is his truest connection to the underworld. He's secretly been partially dead this entire time. And
yeah, it's actually like really sad when you first meet her. Like you said, she doesn't believe it at first, but I don't know if it's the first visit. Yeah, actually I think it is the end of the first visit. She kind of comes to the realization of, oh, this is my son. And it's just like this like really sad, like somber, like reunion, because Zagreus is like you said, he can't survive outside of the underworld, so he's like getting pulled back to the underworld, and it's very clear both of them want to stay together and talk and learn about each other, and he's like ripped away right when he's like, you know, getting that motherly embrace, and it's just really bums me out. But then it's cool as you progress, because every time, like, this the nice thing about the story, you're getting better and better at escaping, so you're seeing Persephone more, and you're able to like go up there, and every time she's like, oh, you're back, like, let's learn more about each other, and it kind of progresses that story of who she is and Zagreus and what's going, like, Zagreus is telling her what's going on in hell, and she's kind of telling Zagreus the history of her and Hades and about Zagreus and all the Olympian gods. Like, it's cool. She's a main like reason you get a lot of the answers you do on the arching story on what the hell happened to cause Hades to be so pissed, and why there's this rift between hell and the Olympic gods. She pushes that story along, which I liked.
I thought it was a great way of making you keep playing this over and over again. Throughout the game, Hades also kind of comes to terms like, yeah, I still love her. And the coolest thing about this is right when you are about to, I would say, not the truest ending, but the second next to the truest ending, like right when Persephone's about to be like, you know what, I'm going back to the underworld. Hades, when you face him, he's like, you know what, I'm not going to fight you this time. Fucking go to
he
her.
lets you through.
Yeah. And it's kind of this awe-inspiring moment of like, all right, that's awesome. And you get to Persephone, and she's like, yeah, let's fucking go. And Charon takes you on his boat with her, and you get what you think is the final credits song, which is actually really badass. That's Good Riddance, again. And it's sung, I think it's Good Riddance. I'm pretty sure it is. It gets sung while you see Charon take the boat with Zagreus and them through the entire levels, and it looks super cool. It's a really feel good moment. And you could actually stop the game there, but for those who are a bit curious and they go back, they're like, we gotta deal with the gods. And Hades is like, okay, here's the deal. I can't let you go to Olympus, but we're gonna let you pretend to keep escaping to go see through them. So we're gonna do this rigmarole of you escaping, and we'll think of something in the meantime. So you gotta beat him again and again and again after that.
But it was all just a setup to hide that Persephone came back to hell.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And at the end of it, Persephone is like, you know what? Let's just invite everyone to a bomb-ass dinner and kind of let everything work itself out. And that's exactly what happens. And the end of the game is Hades shaking hands with Zeus. And it's a really cool picture. Just like these two powerful beings of like becoming brothers again. And it was a really beautiful moment.
Yeah, the the dinner scene there, I really liked. It was cool to see all the gods that at the time you had only interacted with through the boons. And I don't know, it wasn't like, I don't think it's like a big requirement to see it. It feels more like I don't want to call it an Easter egg because it does kind of put a nice bow on everything. It's a feel good ending. It was cool to end on like a happy note and seeing everyone kind of like come to terms. And it also makes you realize like, oh, well, hell doesn't necessarily mean like evil. Like hell's a necessary part of like the afterlife and gods, because someone has to manage death. Like death is a natural thing. I think that's my favorite part about this whole story is like you go into it assuming like, oh, everyone in hell, all these people are bad. As Hades kind of portrays, he's like, no, like someone's got to be in charge of like the dead souls. So it's cool to kind of see them come back onto like friendly terms with the Olympian gods. Like, hey, everyone has their place. We're all gonna work together. We're not gonna be assholes to each other anymore.
It makes you question, like, well, does the gameplay stop after that? And they're like, no. Throughout this entire time, Hades is like, we try to give you a bureaucratic job, but this entire you escaping through hell kind of gave me the idea that, like, our security isn't as tight as we thought it was. Your job is to find the exploits of us, and we are going to make escaping from hell harder than fucking ever. And that's why you keep going back. And there are a ton of little things to keep going back to. That is the truest ending. There's nothing majorly story-wise after that. It's all like character details and fun little trinkets. Like we talked about the heat gauge. If you get a certain amount of heat, which by the way, very recently, if you haven't heard this, someone beat the game with max heat, which was even the creators thought was actually impossibly.
Yeah.
it was literally impossible. You can't do all the heat and beat it, and someone proved that wrong. But even then, you need a shit ton of luck on your side.
Yeah, I read or I saw that in the article. Or at least the headline of the article. I didn't read the whole story, but I remember it was really funny to see because like it was essentially saying like the devs didn't prepare for it, so like nothing happens after you do it. There's no fun Easter egg or anything because the devs literally thought it was impossible. So this guy goes and clears like the absolute hardest.
I think it was a woman actually. Sorry.
Okay. No, you're fine. We'll say this player did this. And the devs were like just as shocked as everyone else. Like, you weren't supposed to actually do that. We don't have any type of reward for you there.
I think the reward of being the first and getting the glory is all that you need. Because, it's a pretty funny thing. And if there was a reward, only one people would have been able to achieve it, and that would have drove so many other people nuts. That would have drove completionists nuts. and everything. But you do get small rewards. Like I said, there's a point where you can go to Hades' personal room freely, and you can unlock trinkets that way throughout the end game. That it gives you just minor stuff to do if you just want to keep playing this game over and over again. The hardest reward, and I wasn't able to do this, there are spots in this game you can fish. Did you enjoy the fishing mechanic at all? Wasn't worth it?
I didn't mind it. This is where I'm going to talk trophies more.
Oh yeah, please do.
I believe you had to collect all the fish and max all the. Yeah, I was gonna say max all the relationships. That's for a trophy too, but I believe catching all the fish was tied to one of the trophies.
Yeah.
And I remember I kept getting bad luck on not finding fishing spots or catching the wrong fish, and I kind of grew to dislike it, and I got really annoyed because I wasn't catching what I needed to catch. Early on, it was like fun, but I remember getting frustrated because I'm like, I just need this one specific fish. Oh no, maybe I'm blowing it out of proportion. I might be thinking of a different item because the trophy was called River Denizens, catch a fish from each region. So maybe that one wasn't so bad.
I wasn't able to finish it because I couldn't catch the rarest of fish, and then finding fish in Greece was next to impossible.
So maybe there's a trophy for that. I believe it was tied to one of the keepsakes, or it was tied to something, catching all the fish. I kind of forget, but I remember getting to areas, not catching the fish I wanted, and then just forcing myself to die so I could like reset it and go back, or like play up to that area again, hoping to get the fish I needed.
I because of how hard it is to catch all the fish, I didn't really care for it that much. Like we said way earlier in the start of the podcast, there was the kitchen area. Like, doing all that seems exhausting. I didn't finish all that either. I'd be like, I played enough of that game. I played a little bit after the final ending, but not too much. I was like, I kind of had my feel. This is an amazing game, but I do have other shit I need to go do.
Yeah, and that's the downside to trophy hunting, because I got that final ending, and I think I had to grind another 10, 15, maybe 20 hours to, like, kind of clean the rest of the trophies up. And I was trying to, like, force specific... I was trying to get certain boons to drop, and I was trying to force specific conversations to happen that I needed for different trophies. And I remember that getting really frustrating because I don't know if we really talked about it. The only way you could, like, level or like get new conversations from people in the house was dying.
Yeah.
So there was a specific moment in time playing this game, going for the platinum, where I had done just about everything else. All I had left to do was to like progress certain storylines in the House of Hades. So I'd spawn into the game, run forward, die in the first room, come back to the House of Hades. Oh, the conversation that I need for this trophy isn't there. So I'd run back to escape, die in the first room, and I'd rinse and repeat, and I did that for like hours on end, just trying to like force everything along. So the trophy hunting did kind of ruin the experience a little bit for me, but in the grand scheme of things, like, I'm not going to hold that against the game. That one was fully unlocked, the Olympians Codex entries. I believe that was the trophy I was going for, where I was sitting there going in and dying, respawning, dying, respawning over and over.
Yeah, giving everyone nectar was a little bit too much of a pain, because I feel like the total amount for everyone could have been a little bit less, personally. And it's one of the more fulfilling parts of the game, because that fills out everyone's codexes. The codexes are very interesting in the game. You have to beat Karen a certain amount of times to fill that out, and that's very annoying, because he's a fun boss, but he's the hardest boss, and an opportunity to face him is kind of rare too. So it does get very monotonous of all the Titan's blood, all the diamonds, all the currencies, and just like, can I even get all this stuff in a run?
Farewell to
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. We recorded this several years ago. This is now the last update review, formerly finished game review. Back in the day, we lost footage of our closing thoughts. I really hope you enjoyed the show and hope you'll find Josh on the Trophy Talk Network. Like I said, this was our very first show. We had some recording issues. The first kind of episodes are slightly rough, but I feel like we're getting better in time. If this was your very first episode, I really hope you enjoyed the show. Check back with us every single month for a brand new episode. And thank you for excusing the mess of these first couple of episodes.